Well, hello there. It's been a while, so I figured I'd just give an update on the garden. Last year, right here next to where the chickens used to be, I moved them over into this section here. Put them on a truckload or two of wood chips, kind of in the deep mulch method. Helps keep all the odors down, turns all those wood chips into compost that I'll sort out and reuse in the beds at a later time. But for now, they're busy digging up worms and having a good time. That's a mulberry tree that they kind of knocked over, and they use that as some shade in this heat. And grab a couple berries out of there. But yeah, so this area over here was the same kind of concept. Had them here for about a year. Sifted out all the wood chips and made just some hilled mounds last year. This year I decided to do some Sushugiban treatment to some wood and make raised beds. So not much, it's only about a 6-inch raised bed, but it kind of defines the section. Gives me an idea of where the actual bed is and creates some hard borders. They're little keyhole beds. One facing this direction, and I have an archway here. I'm growing some of these really crazy squashes. There's another giant one right there. And then I got some melons going on this side. You can see one going right there. There's another one on the ground over here. There we go. But they're climbing up here. I had a volunteer. These are string beans. If I can find them there. I came up from this side from last year. I just was a volunteer. He starts way down in there. Comes up, and then I have these snake beans starting to come up right here, and they will climb all the way up, and they make like 4 foot long. Technically I believe they're squashes, but they're really good. They kind of taste like cucumber. Got a couple squashes here as well, just starting to put out. Got all the tomatoes. Matter of fact, there's a nice one right in there. They're starting. Oh, this one's starting to turn there. I don't know if you can see that right in the center of the screen. Although that plant's not doing so good, we might have to pull that one. Another squash down here along this trellis. Starting to get some cucumbers coming. A lot of this was planted late. Wasn't sure if I was going to get to everything, but a lot of it's coming along. In amongst all the vegetables, I planted a lot of marigold. This year, we did these long Asian eggplants, and they turned out amazing last year. But this year I had something attacking them, and they didn't do so well. So I don't know if you can see the leaves are all chewed up from something. But they're surviving. They're growing slowly. Planted a couple other flowers in here just to kind of fill in the bed. These are some of my favorites. These are peach sugar rush peppers. They're really hot, but they start off really sweet. Got another one here. They're short, but they're loaded with fruit. I got a couple of these Cornelian cherries. It's a dogwood that puts on fruit. This is the first year it's fruited. I've had it here for about 3 years. This one's got a bunch of fruit on it. I have another one over here, and the fruit is just starting to change color. They're not quite ripe yet. I tried one earlier, really sour, so I'll just have to wait on that one. Down here, I just recently planted corn. Looks like it's starting to come up. Almost started pulling them because I thought they might have been grass, because I'm having an issue with some of the grass coming through. But I figured I'd let it go a little bit and make sure it's corn before I tear it up, or make sure it's not corn. Let's see, we got these yellow squashes going on down here. There we go. Another one over here. These are Puma peppers, another hot pepper variety. And then this is my wall of cherry tomatoes, another cattle panel trellis with some just electrical conduit pounded into the ground. Wire tied the cattle panels to it, makes an excellent trellis. Easy to reach through, these big gaps in between, you can get stuff from either side. There's some more eggplants. I started these actually in February, end of February. And I brought them out here and they suffered. They really just didn't do so good. I got some old borage in here. That's what this guy is. And some more marigolds and some more of these sugar rush peppers. These cherry tomatoes here, it's a cool variety. They're turning into these yellow gold cherry tomato clusters. Really super sweet and delicious. I'm not a huge tomato fan. I grow them mostly for my parents, who live with me over the summer, but I'm actually really enjoying these for the first time. Here's my cherry tree. We got a couple Montmorency cherries off of that. My peach trees are growing like crazy. I actually need to prune these guys back. I got very few peaches this year. I think I waited too long to do my winter pruning, and they just really didn't put on a lot of fruit set, and then they didn't hold on to the fruit. This guy here was a peach. I think he died from above the rootstock down there. The varietal died. I think this is all rootstock coming up, so I'm probably, when I come through and prune this all out, I'm probably going to take them out. Don't mind the mess. This is real life. I haven't got in here to weed all this out. There we got one peach. It's almost ready there. Over here is a plum. Kind of going crazy. This side is doing poorly, but up here, this shit took off this year. It goes way up there now. I'm gonna prune this guy back. Try to keep them under 10 feet tall. Back up there, we got some electrical wires. I don't want them getting all tangled up in there, and I don't really want to be climbing up on ladders to harvest these guys. So I will be trimming them back to a reasonable size, and hopefully I'll do a little bit of that in the summer just to kind of reduce the height and maybe put on some more lower growth, so that I have something to put on a good fruit set next year. But that's the bulk of the garden over here. I'm going to kind of pull away and get a wide angle view here of how it's going. This is mid-July. We've been in a bad heat streak here, but everything seems to be holding on. This garden bed is, like I said, it's mostly the screened chicken litter, just like this over here. But I've also topped it up with quite a few bucket loads of rabbit pellets, the rabbit manure, and that's you can see all that down in there. I probably got an inch or so along the entire bed And then I've covered it up with the excess hay that they drop out and urinate on, and that all becomes part of the garden. Try to reuse everything. And there's the other bed. Now, that's that. I put in, this is my gooseberry over here. I have grown this out for about 6 years or so. It has never put on fruit. I don't know whether it's just because it's too much in the shade here under this oak, or actually I don't even know if that's an oak. But I decided to get another varietal this year, and so maybe in a year or two when that starts growing and putting out, maybe we'll get some cross-pollination. This right here is something called a wineberry, and that's putting on these little fruits. Only had a little bit. Pretty good. As we come back over here, our little island in the middle of the house, or middle of the front yard. Mostly what we have growing in here, it's productive. I got some blackberries going on in here. Nice spread over here, and then I have a lot of mint grown in here. So this is our mojito mint. This year we added over in this, I took a tree down that was right here in the middle, covered it all in the mulch, and then we decided to turn this into a mint bed. So this is spearmint, I believe, and peppermint, or vice versa. Honestly, I'm not even sure. Haven't harvested any of that yet, but we want to turn this whole thing into a mint bed for teas and for summer drinks and all that. There's another little raspberry growing right here. This was one for a pot, but decided to put it in the ground and see what happened. That's been struggling for a while. Still living though. Over on the side of the house here, I've got a fig tree that's starting to put on some nice figs. I'm not sure if that's going to focus in on them or not, but I've got a bunch of figs growing. This is the first year we've actually had a decent set. I think I got about 3 off of this one last year. This was a cutting I took of a tree that I got, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years ago. And it just, the other one didn't do well, but I just jammed a cutting into the ground here, and a couple years later, this thing took off like crazy. And then the rest of this area here, we're going to be cleaning up, and this is a bunch of fodder tree for the rabbits. These are all cuttings I took last year. Just stuck them in the ground over winter. They all rooted and took off. I need to separate that massive root ball, I'm sure, and I'm going to plug them in, but I don't want to do that in the middle of all this heat. But I'll be doing that. I'll fill this in. We'll have a bunch of fodder trees for the rabbits. And after moving it 4 or 5 times, there's the original fig tree. It finally got translocated over here, and it's doing well. It's growing. Hopefully next year we'll get some fruit off of it. I don't see any fruit set this year. But this doesn't get a whole lot of direct sunlight, so it may not be the best place. I just didn't want it to die back to the ground anymore, so I put it on the south side of my house. So it's growing well, but it's just not producing. But we'll see about next year. Hopefully we'll get some fruit set out of it. Over the fence here, my pawpaws are putting out for the first time. There's one there, and here's the one that's actually producing. See if I can get in there and find some of these fruits. There we go. There's a fruit set right there. There's another one. Up there. I don't know if I can. Up there. Another one down there. Got a couple different sets. I think I counted 15 fruits in all. This mess over here is a lot of oregano. The oregano's taken over. These are like the bushel and berry raspberries. I think that's the second year in there. We got a couple fruits off it this year, but not a whole lot. I got some lavender in the pot there. That is some pineapple mint. These are jostaberry bushes in the corner here. They put out a little bit of fruit this year. That was the first time they actually put anything out. Again, I think being out here on this is the south side, and in the summer the sun's way up on the other side of the roof, so not a lot of direct sunlight down here at the ground level. So I'm not sure if they're getting enough sunlight to produce much. It's part of the fun of experimenting with these. These were all cuttings that I took from one plant a couple years ago. But here we got some rosemary down in there. Here's another, I believe this is a raspberry, bushel and berry raspberry, designed for a pot size. These are the clematis vines that we have coming up the trellis here. Just trying to make this side look pretty. It looks really pretty in the spring, but then all the buds kind of go. Quick view of the pool. Oh, the elderberry in the back there is going gangbusters. It's just all the leaves all the branches are hanging over, full of fruit. A couple more pawpaws over here. And we're turning some of these trees into fodder for the rabbits. There's another pawpaw here. And these beds, I'm going to take these beds out. I tried to grow some lettuce in there this year, and it just did very, very poorly. Again, I think it's just not getting any significant sunlight. It gets a little bit in the spring, but once the sun's up, it really doesn't get a whole lot down here. So I'm probably just going to dig this all up, replant grass, and translocate this to another location where it gets a little bit more sun. Go back up this way. This is lemongrass by the pool, kind of like fountain grass. As you go up the steps to the pool, there's another one right there. In the back here, these are all Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes over here. I was hoping they would grow tall enough to shade some of the bunny barn back there, but they don't do that until later in the year. Up here we have grapes and kiwis all together. I have a couple kiwi fruits. This is first year. Looks like we'll actually be getting some of the kiwi fruit. These are hardy kiwis. And then I believe under here we got lots of fruit set from the grapes. They had a good set of fruit down here. Strawberries. Looks like they're putting on some more. So I'm going to eat that right now. And I got a couple more of these Asian eggplants. I didn't plant these until June. I started them from seed in February. These were extras I had laying around. I was intending to only put them out front, but the ones out front weren't doing well. These I had kept inside. They were small but holding on. Put them back here and they seem to be doing great. They're getting a little bit eat up by something. They seem to be doing a whole lot better. This is an older bed. This is, I don't know if you can see the quality of this soil. That is almost all worm castings. Wow, the ground is really, really dry. I'll have to put the sprinklers on again. But that thing is just loaded with earthworms. I usually top it up every year with an inch or so of the rabbit waste. And last 2 years I've been incorporating biochar into it just to help retain some more water absorption and have a little bit more nutrient absorption. So we'll see how that goes. Over here is another pepper bed. I had one of these last year. I put the second one on this year. This is two IBC, well, it's one IBC tote cut in half. I turned them into wicking beds, and you can see the peppers in here are going crazy. I also planted some marigolds in between them. And I transplanted this. This is a lettuce leaf basil. I transplanted this from inside. Snap that head off, keep it growing. This has been going for, I don't know, about 6 months or so, and producing plenty of basil. You can see how, in comparison to my hand, how big those leaves are. And it smells just like any other basil. It tastes just like, it's just as strong, just much larger leaves. But I got a bunch of different peppers in here. I tried to grow some onions in this bed, interplant with some onions. They're not doing great, so we'll see. But I have these two wicking beds tied into the pond here, so whenever I want I can go over, turn the pond on, flood these beds out, and then it'll drain back into the pond, and that'll keep a good moisture level to these. I brought a bunch of earthworms in here as well to just continue to grow and mature the soil in there. Let's see. Along the back wall here, don't mind the mess, guys. It's just been a busy year. Little by little we're turning things around and cleaning things up, but it's the first year we're getting any of the pears, so they're doing good. That's the only two I had. We had a third one on there, but it had blossom end rot, so I tossed that one. These two look like they're just about ready, and hopefully next year we'll get some better set. I got two different trees planted here side by side. The idea is to, again, keep these guys relatively short and productive on the low end. But I am thinking about seeing if I can get this to grow over top of the bunny barred, just to provide a little bit more shade, because it gets awfully hot in there. This is a currant bush here. I don't know if I have any fruit on it anymore. Yeah, it's a pink champagne currant. I keep putting my finger in front of the lens. Over here I got some fodder trees. These are for the rabbits. I cut these down. This is a mulberry here, white mulberry. I believe this is a poplar. There's another poplar. That's a willow. I'll just coppice these down to the ground at the end of each year. And then each year we'll harvest a little bit more for the rabbits. I believe I got another one struggling down here, little willow. But year by year they'll grow and get bigger and bigger and bushier and bushier, and it'll provide lots of food for the rabbits. This is a columnar apple. Instead of growing out, it grows straight up like a column. We haven't had any fruit off of that yet, but it's getting to a good size now. I'm hoping next year we'll get some fruit off of it. These are more josta berries and currants I have planted on the side here. And then this bad boy here is a gummy berry bush. It's a nitrogen fixer, puts out a ton of fruit, ripens early in June. My daughter loves to come out and eat berries off of it. There's another currant bush. There's an apple, kind of in the shade. He's been struggling for years, but growing a little bit by a little bit. I'm hoping once he gets up, he'll get a bit of sunlight and start producing for us. And a lot of this is just experimental, things that we could do. All back here, this is lemon balm. It's good for teas and just a nice herb. It's supposed to help keep the mosquitoes at bay, but haven't really noticed any effect from that. I've got a couple prickly pear cactuses in here. They've never really produced for us. Over here, and if you guys decide to get these, they're very, very pretty. These are passion fruit, maypop passion fruit. They will spread everywhere. Literally, I think I have them growing out well beyond the into the yard, well beyond the playground there. And they all started along this fence in this area right about here. But yeah, it goes, well, there's some of the flowers, just beautiful flowers. My goal is to have them climb up this fence here and just be a pretty sight. And some of it does that, and most of it wants to grow out towards the yard. And like I said, once you plant it, it'll grow everywhere. So, got more Josta berries in here. These were just from cuttings I took. And then all this in here is a raspberry patch with, of course, the passion flower trying to take over. So, I gotta be diligent about ripping this stuff up, or else it'll just take over. So about once a week I come through here and grab what I can see. And then here's another, this is another gummy berry. It's in the same family as the autumn olive. It's a nitrogen fixing plant, puts on a bunch of fruit. Fruit's actually pretty good if you let it ripen. But it's a small fruit with a seed in it, so a lot of work, but it's tasty. And then these kind of trellises I built for other things, but I left them here for the passion fruit to grow on. And then, like I said, this stuff will take over. But I got another grape in here, which has been struggling just because it doesn't get enough sunlight. But I kind of tried to work with what I had, tried to make the back fence turn into a green fence with different things. And then my comfrey's all in here. We've been chopping this up and walking over it, so it's all ugly. Got some blueberry bushes here. They're a couple years old. They just put out fruit for the first time this year. That's our ugly barrel. I tried to make a lettuce barrel, which worked pretty good for a year, but mostly it's been taken over by the catnip. We just don't eat a whole lot of lettuce, so what we plant in the ground in a couple places is enough, and just haven't decided what to do with that yet. But that's the general tour of the yard and most of what I have going on here. Take care, guys.